Okie dokie. We are here at the 8th grade Google Classroom screen. And if you didn't know, you can access your work here. Hopefully get more people signed up. We only got like 6 or 5 of them or whatever. But what we're going to do, access classwork. You'll see it says Engage New York Pythagorean Monday. And so Monday is going to be a lot. 5 problems, huh? Well, let's do it, dudes. I had a whiteboard. Oh, here it is. Alright. Oh, I have to get a new one. Alright, anyway. Directions. Use the Pythagorean theorem to determine the unknown length of the right triangle. Okay, they're not too bad. They're kind of easy ones for us. And they gave us something to learn or something cool to point out, I guess. All right, but just notice, oh my god, I'm going to have this triangle. I'm in this drawing problem again. Let's see if I can do this better. Oh, no. Alright, let's get a new one. I think I'll let us get a new one. There we go. I can zoom in, zoom out. Alright, let's see if that helps. Okay, so, back to the math. Basically, real quick. We're going to have a triangle, right? And we got a 6 side and an 8 side. Boom. And we don't know the C side. And I like how they labeled it, made it easy for us, right? Because we're always going to be using A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And we just pick one side for A, so that'll be 6 squared. And then we'll pick the other side, obviously, has to be 8. That'll be our B. And then we don't know our C, so C squared. What's 6 times 6? 36. 8 times 8, 64 equals C squared. 36 plus 64. Again, if you don't know, add. And if you do know, I would still say add because you just want to make sure you always get things right. 6 plus 4 is 10. Carry the 1. 6 plus 1 plus 3 is 10. And then what we end up with is 100 equals C squared. Now we got lots of methods for this, right? We could say what number times itself is 100, right? What you might want to start learning too is that the algebraic method is to square root. You take the square root because it's the opposite of squaring. See, C squared, opposite of squaring is square rooting. And so the square root of C squared is C, and the square root of 10 is, the square root of 100 is 10. And so now that we know that C is 10. Question. Here's an 8, there's an 8. Here's a 6, there's a 6. They're both missing the C side, and we can tell that since the C is opposite of the right angle, is C going to be the same thing? So 8.8. So do we think the C is going to be 1? I mean, that's a good logical kind of you could assume that, but it's always good to, do your learning, make sure you got it right. So same deal. I'm just going to flip the triangle right side. And now we got 0.6 and 0.8. And of course, since we're still dealing with A squared plus B squared equals C squared, we still have 0.6 plus 0.8 equals C squared squared. Right? Now, if 6 times 6 is 36, well, 6 times 6 is still 36. But now it's 0.36. And if we don't know how that is quickly done, remember that when you multiply decimals, you ignore these decimals, right? The teachers tell you to move them over here, but you basically ignore them. And then what's 6 times 6? It's 36. And then the teachers tell you count them 1, 2, and then you come here, put a decimal, and move them 1, 2. So that's true. So now we know, well, if 8 times 8 is 64, then 0.8 times 0.8 has to be what? It has to be 0.64. Some of us could already see it, though, but it equals c squared. These little, I'm writing too heavy. So that's a 4, not a 9 or whatever. So if 36 plus 64 was 100, then 0.36 plus 0.64 has to be 1. And look, what times itself is 1? Well, 1. But remember, try to practice this square rooting both sides so that we end up with c equals 1. So there we go. A and B, 1's 10 and 1. A is 10, B is 1. All right. Cool. I think I've already done this for you guys on something else. Oh, I think I already did the module test, but you'll see that later. All right. Same thing. I'm just gonna do my triangle a little. Maybe we should draw a little better triangle. See how the 8's on the short side? I'm just going to put the 8 on the short side. A is on the long side. And 17 is a hypotenuse. They flipped it up on us, right? Again, just so we memorize it. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Here's our A. We don't know our A. That switches things up. The B has to be 8, right? And they weren't nice enough to just give us a 10, so we got to deal with 17 squared. A squared is A squared. 8 squared is 64. And 17 squared is, what is 17 squared? Let's see. 7 times 7 is 9. Carry the 4. It's not pretty. Alright, 7 times 1, 7. 7 plus 4 is 11. 1, put the 0. 1 times 7. That looks like a minus. 1 times 7, 7. 1 times 1 is 1. What do we end up with? 9, 8, 289. So 289. And now we get to do a little algebra, right? Again, remember when you're solving for anything, you basically do PEMDAS in reverse, right? We're looking first for addition and subtraction right here. Right there, right? Let me see if I can draw an arrow. Oh, I got too fancy. No, I can't. So what is the opposite? Once you find it, you do the opposite. So what's the opposite of plus 69? Well, let's subtract 69. And from both sides, right? They cancel, as they say in the old teacher books. And now what is 289 minus 8 is 69? Well, 9 minus 9 is 0. 8 minus 6 is 2. And 2 minus nothing is 2. And now we're at this point, right? We have a squared equals something. So remember, practice your algebra. You can see you're still using PEMDAS, believe it or not. There's no addition or subtraction. There's no multiply divide. But right here we have the exponents, and the opposites of exponents are roots. And the roots are this, this radical, this funky looking sign here called a radical. All right, this cancels here, and A equals. Is there a number that multiplied by itself is 220? Believe the answer to that question is no. So at the 8th grade level, I believe all they want us to do right now is just the square root of 20. There's another way to do that, but yeah. They don't teach you that until later, I believe. Maybe Miss Randall can see the video and check me on that. All right. Logic. I actually like this. If Miss Randall, good job, Miss Randall. Excellent assignment choice, right? Because here's that same triangle. On the short side, 0.8. On the hypotenuse side, 1.7. On the A side, we don't know, but we have these similar things here, right? So A squared is going to probably equal 2.2. Shoot, did I get that wrong? Did I get that wrong? Oh. It'll just be 22. And then we know that there is no So a squared equals the radical of 22. I wish I could see what I'm writing on. This is really weird. I'm like writing on a tablet, but I can't look at what I'm writing on. So I have to kind of like look at the screen, and that's how I'm writing. Oh, that's not supposed to be there. Oh, look how fancy this is. Alright. Alright. That's that. Next problem. Determine the length of side. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do. I am not going to demonstrate these because it's the same as number 2. And, yep. Number 4 is the same as those. And then number 5, what did you notice in each pair of the problems? Okay, number 5, what did you notice in each pair of problems 1 through 4? How might you notice be helpful in solving problems like these? Okay, so we already went through that, everybody. So what did we notice? We noticed they made us solve a triangle. Then they gave us another triangle, the exact same. They just kind of flipped it or turned it to try to a little bit confuse you. And then they just made it decimal. So instead of 6, we had 0.6. So basically what we learned is that the numbers came out the same, it's just the decimal point was moved over. There's lots of stuff you can learn from that. As long as something has the same proportions, it's going to come out with the same answers, just your decimal will be moved over that a little bit. Logic, right? It logically makes sense that if side A is proportional to side A on a different triangle, but in the other triangle has a similar proportion to the B to the B side and the C to C side. See how this is 20 and 2, 12, 1.2. It's the same thing as what they were doing up here with us. But instead of just going in decimal, they just divide it by 10. See, 20 divided by 10 is 2, 12 divided by 10 is 1.2. So we could argue that we could just do one triangle, figure out its A, and then we'll just divide that answer by 10, and it'll be the same for the other side. But you really can't get these questions wrong if you just be truthful and just say what you did, and you're just not out there in left field talking about unicorns and hot dogs. That's it.